special in some ways because over the previous 7 weeks actually, we've been following the fortunes of the club I support, Crystal Palace, who have, let's just say they've had not the greatest start in Premier League history. In fact, statistically the worst in history, having lost all 7 games and failing to score a goal. This week saw them go up against the current reigning champions of the Premier League, Chelsea, and as you can imagine, my optimism was not really very high with that one, especially as we had conceded 9 goals in the last 2 games against Man City and I want to say Man United, actually, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, Man United and Man City. And yeah, so as you can imagine, I was not really the most confident person going into this game, but miracles sometimes do happen, and I guess Palace had, well, definitely their best game of the season, if not probably their best game since we beat Arsenal earlier in the year, last season technically, and I guess Chelsea had a particularly bad game as well, and as a result Crystal Palace won 2-1, scoring and winning a match for the first time this season. Brilliant. Not much I can really add to that. Goals were scored by, well, you'll see there on the goals scored, you'll see it's just half a Palace, because technically I think it was Azpilicueta own goal. From a Kabai kind of shot, I guess, so he gets the assist, I guess. Bakayoko scored a header, I think, for Chelsea to get them back in it, and then Zaha scored the second, which was, I mean, everybody was raving about Zaha and saying how good he was, and he was very, very good. But I think Sacco, for me, was the guy who really, really made the difference there. I mean, he assisted the goal. If you see it, he's kind of, for some weird reason, he is tackling a midfielder about, I don't know, 30-40 yards away from the goal when Chelsea had the ball. I can't quite work out why centre-back would be there, but thank God he was. And then, calmly lays it off to Zaha, who, I gotta say, I was puzzled by the Chelsea defence on that goal, because I know Zaha's pretty quick, but he kind of made them look like they were just stood still, basically, and flew past them and finished pretty well against the keeper. So, all in all, pretty special day, really. I would have taken any win, frankly, but we played really well, and that's what's so good. And what's also kind of impressive is the fact that we were missing our technically first choice keeper in Wayne Hennessy, although whether or not he is first choice, I would debate that one. And so Speroni played, who is an absolute club legend. If you don't know, he's been a goalkeeper at Crystal Palace for well over a decade. Signed him from Dundee United, I think it was. He had a testimonial like last season, I think, and by all accounts he was not really expected to ever play again for Palace, so it was kind of due to injury, I guess, and due to the fact that we actually sold who was technically supposed to be our number 1 keeper, Steve Mandanda, because he didn't settle in London, so we sold him back to Marseille, I think it was, at the beginning of the season, and then failed to sign a goalkeeper in the same way we failed to sign a striker, because that was the other thing about the game. We didn't play a striker. We played Sacco up front, who is a winger, because Benteke is injured, and for all the thing of Morata being out for Chelsea and stuff like that, I mean, at least they still had a striker on the bench. Whether they choose to use him or not is up to them, but we didn't even have a striker, basically, so I'm ecstatic about it. It's brilliant. In the same way that I wouldn't judge Roy Hodgson on the previous 2 games he was in charge of, I wouldn't judge him on this one, but I think without a doubt the team looked better. just looked a bit more confident. Certainly Zaha coming back from injury, it's no coincidence that we had this bad run and he has been injured for all of it, barring the first game of the season. And yeah, it's a massive relief. Obviously, we're still bottom of the table. That's not going to change probably for a bit, but if we can build upon that and get ourselves out of that, then it would be a hell of a turnaround for a season. And I'd have to give Roy Hodgson big props for that. One thing I will say though is Roy Hodgson's not the answer, I guess, to everything, because I think he's like over 70 now, so it's not a long-term appointment. And the problems at Crystal Palace stem from the fact that we can't seem to get a long-term manager. Either we sack them or they leave. So I think it's like 50-50 on those two, sacking and leaving. One of the two will happen, and probably will happen within like a year or year and a half of them being managers. So yeah, we just need some stability, I guess. But I guess the first thing they're focused on is survival. As I've said before, if we get relegated, we get relegated. That's just the way it goes. But hopefully we'll be able to stay up this season and look to rebuild. So I mean, that's the Palace Chelsea result there. How did we actually do from a fantasy football point of view? Well, pretty badly, 38 points, but it was a bad week I think for everybody. 37 was the average, so we were one above that, which is good. The highest was 112. Like, I don't even know who that. Can we have a look and see what that team was that they had? I mean, okay, fair enough. Fair enough, I guess. That's pretty good. But yeah, in terms of I should get points tonight. In terms of how well we did, so a lot of players a lot of results not really going the way I foresaw them, as usual, I guess. However, one thing I did think was Man United would get a clean sheet, and they did. I'm very disappointed in Bally. He hasn't played the last two games. He wasn't marked as being injured, but now he is. So I'm gonna have to transfer him out. Agazi just played tonight. It was a 1-1 draw. Got 1 point. Kolasinac got 1 point because Arsenal lost. We'll go into that in a bit. And then midfield really didn't do anything either. I expected Tottenham to batter Bournemouth, in all honesty, but they limped over the line really. Ali, Sissoko, Kane not doing anything really there. And of course I expected Hazard to do something against Crystal Palace, which he didn't. And then I still had Lukaku because, well, I thought he might get a goal, which he didn't. So as you can see, all of those pretty terrible. De Gea did well, and then Tammy Abraham was a little bit of an outside choice. So if you look at my previous team, I had to replace Morata, and I wanted to put in Hazard in midfield, and he was obviously more expensive than Kante, who I was replacing, who was injured. So I decided to go for Hazard. Now that left me with a space up front and not a huge amount of money to spend. So I went for Tammy Abraham because I thought Swansea against Huddersfield, he could do alright there, and he got 2 goals, so I was really happy with that. That's really decent, actually. I'm chuffed with myself. I also brought in Sissoko for Redmond, who, how many points did he get? 6. Of course, he got an assist this week, so yep. But I just thought, as I said, I thought Tottenham were going to do really well against Bournemouth. I thought home game, Harry Kane's been in like fantastic form for England. Yeah, I thought they'd come out of the blocks flying, and it was a struggle. They still won, but it was a struggle. So yeah, we're actually down in our positions, I guess. That's the way it goes, really. But I think pretty much everybody had generally a bad week because the big names didn't really perform, apart from if you had Man City players. But again, let's work our way through the matches and see how that comes out. So Liverpool Man United 0-0. I didn't watch it. From what I heard, it was one of the most boring football matches on planet Earth. I don't know why people would have expected anything else. Mourinho doesn't take chances in big games. He plays for draws. It's a smart way to because the worst thing is he goes out and his opponent gets 3 points because his opponent, who is challenging for the title, gets 3 points and Mourinho gets none. At least this way he gets some sort of status quo. And I guess the thinking is, well, if Liverpool are playing Man City, as they are, they're playing Spurs, another top side, if they can take points off them, then it's points which, he's done better than, if that makes sense. He's done better than Spurs would have done, taking points away from them if they can consider them a title rival. So yeah, from what I hear, just an absolute snooze fest. De Gea doing really well in goal. You can see 5 saves. So Liverpool certainly had their chances. But De Gea's a top goalkeeper, and having him in your team is literally worth those points. When you play big games like that. So fair play. I don't think it says anything really about either side's ambitions this season. Man United will always do that type of thing when they play against big sides because that's just Mourinho's way, and Liverpool would always go out and try and win a game and potentially not do it. So yeah, it's just one of those ones. But I get fed up sometimes when people pick up these big games because generally they never live up to expectation. It's always the other sort of games that seem to be a lot more interesting. The next was Burnley and West Ham. Now, I really nearly put Chris Woods in goal. I was actually thinking about him instead of Abraham. It wouldn't have been a bad shout because he did score a goal. But I think he's looking like a really, really good signing for Burnley. Got a lot of time for Burnley. They're just like a decent football team, and that's the emphasis on team. They have the ability to, really work together, and even though to become greater, I guess, than the sum of their parts. So, I'd struggle to name you more than a couple of their players, but as a unit, they work together. They're just that excellent team, and I think that's something which a lot of other teams in the league are certainly lacking. West Ham probably being one of them. I'm wondering how long Antonio is going to be at West Ham, until another big club snaps him up. He's pretty young, he's English, he's just got a knack for scoring goals. I think he got capped last season for England. I wouldn't be surprised to see, a Liverpool or a Spurs try and pick him up. We'll see. But West Ham, let's have a look at the league table. Premier League table. West Ham still in trouble really, 80 points there. So, yes, hi, Cookies, great. And Liverpool's still not really making too much of a dent on that top 4. Same with Arsenal, Chelsea, really. A lot of teams there and thereabouts, including Burnley. Fantastic well, and Watford, who we're going to come to as well, who I think are a very underrated side as well. Let's get back. There we go. So then we had obviously Crystal Palace Chelsea. We've spoken about that fantastic result. Just really, really happy with that. We've got Newcastle next. We'll see where that goes, I guess. Newcastle, tough side. So yeah, there's no guarantees there at all either. And then Man City Stoke, a whopping 7-2. I mean, Man City are I mean, how do you describe Man City right now? They are just rampant, aren't they, really? There is such a wealth of attacking talent in that team. I mean, just look at who scored these goals. Jesus, Sterling, David Silva, Fernandinho, Sane, Bernardo Silva. I mean, good God. And then, you got like De Bruyne getting a couple of assists there. It's just scary. It's really scary. Everybody's kind of crowning them champions, and as I've said before, if you remember, last season they did kind of collapse. Their defence was shaky. I don't see their defence being much better, although they have signed left and right backs, which was a problem for them. we'll see. I think when the Champions League comes about, like, you know, really starts chugging away, we'll see how well they can rotate and still keep a challenge on, you know, with the team, because it's going to be difficult for them, I think. But I mean, at the minute, they just look like outright favourites, don't they? Stoke are not a bad side. I think they're pretty bad this season. I've kind of spoken before about how they kind of got rid of a lot of their flair players and brought in a lot more sturdier players. They did bring Hesse, who got an assist, but yeah, I mean, I worry for Stoke a little bit. I don't know if they've got what it takes to stay up. I think they probably will, because I think there'll be 3 worse sides than them. But I mean, that's a hammering. 7-2. That's a hammering. Anyway, look at it. Spurs v Bournemouth 1-0. Again, like, I mean, this is the thing about Bournemouth. They're already 1 point ahead of Palace, and yet no one's really talking about them. So it's interesting that you know, nobody's saying that Eddie Howe should get sacked or anything like that. I'm not either, by the way. But it is interesting. They seem to have a lot of credit in the bank, as it were, and goodwill. You know, which I guess is great for them, but they need to have some sort of turnaround. And I've always felt with Bournemouth that they're kind of a bit similar to Burnley in that I couldn't really name you like any more than a couple of their players, but they have a great kind of team ethic, a great kind of tactical ethic as well. And the difference between them and Burnley is Burnley are a bit more adaptable, I think, in terms of their style counters a lot of other teams' style quite well, whereas Bournemouth trying to play a more passing game, I feel like it might be a little bit beyond their means, and I think this season they might be caught out and they might get relegated. We'll see, won't we, I guess, but disappointing from Spurs, I think, as well, really. Not to have, you know, staked a bit more of a claim on here, but I didn't see the game, so I don't know. Maybe it was a case of Spurs, you know, knocking on the door and just didn't manage to convert, or maybe it was a case of Bournemouth gave them a really good run for the money. You know, it could be that, but either way, I guess at the end of the day, sometimes with Spurs, these are the sort of games which they would draw or possibly even lose over the last few seasons. The fact that they can scrape a 1-0 win is, you know, could be a sign of improvement. Swansea versus Huddersfield, not too much to talk about there. Swansea a little bit more back on track, I guess. Tammy Abraham with 2, who could be a really, really shrewd loan signing for them next season, or this season, sorry. And you know, they've probably got an eye on maybe signing him permanently, because he comes from Chelsea, doesn't he? And let's face it, he ain't gonna get a game. So you know, Chelsea always do this with youngsters. So you know, if he does well this season, they might be able to get a good signing out of that. We'll see though. And then Watford v Arsenal. What to say here, I guess. Same old Arsenal, really. 1-0 up, ended up losing 2-1. Just out-muscled and out-fought by, you know, Watford. A very good Watford side. I said before that this was going to be a very tricky game for Arsenal, and I'm not surprised they lost it. But yeah, just I saw like an interview with Troy Deeney afterwards, and they said like, oh, you know, what was your plan? And he was like, basically to go there and rough them up because they don't like it. And when you think about Arsenal team of the past, you know, that famous Invincibles team, or you know, the teams preceding that, or maybe some, you know, a few seasons after that, the likes of like Vieira, Petit, you know, those little players, Gallas. It's like, it was ridiculous to think that they could be just out-muscled and out-fought by another team. Like, how much they have fallen is shocking, really. It comes down to one thing, I think, with them, and that's recruitment. They've just brought so badly with the players. They needed leaders, and they brought sheep. You know, they needed shepherds, and they brought sheeps. That's the way it goes, really. As I said, you know, I've always said I have a bias against Arsenal because of because so many of my friends support Arsenal and always rubbing my nose in it. But the fact of the matter is, like, they have achieved some fantastic things. They are a football club which tries to play attractive football, and that should be commended. But their recruitment is shocking. It really is. You know, when they've tried to replace players of the past, it's just not worked for them, has it? But there you go. We'll see how they do. I'm thinking they're going to struggle for a top 4 place. Really struggle. And I feel like that this is going to be Arsene Wenger's last season. I think 2 finishes outside the top 4 would be enough for the owner to decide, you know, enough's enough, and get rid of him. Which would be a shame, because he has done a lot for that football club, and people should never forget that. You know, when he joined that football club, they were in a shambles, and it's not just the stuff on the pitch he did. He's done a lot of stuff off the pitch as well, and has really changed the face of the game. So we'll see exactly what happens. Next up, sorry, that's my PlayStation in the background just going off for some weird reason. I think it lost internet connection or something. Anyway, Brighton v Everton. Yeah, Rooney scoring, I guess that's good, right? I mean, I wasn't too down on the fact that Rooney joined Everton, because like, he's clearly still a good player. I think he just wasn't a player capable of playing a Premier League season. I think my internet just go off actually. He wasn't capable of playing a Premier League season and like European games, and clearly he wasn't the player that he did used to be, but used in a correct way and not as like a midfielder. I don't think he could still be decent, and I think he was. But I mean, Brighton continue to get pretty good results as well, so they're doing really well so far. Fair play to them. I've always said, like, Crystal Palace. Thank you. Sorry. Let me just get back. Internet decided to take a dive while I do this. Never mind. We're nearly done anyway. But Southampton, Newcastle, Gabbiadini scoring 2. Gabbiadini, very good player. That guy, you won't have seen the FIFA episode yet, but there's a FIFA episode where I play Southampton, and that guy pisses me off for something royally. So yeah, watch out for him basically when we play Southampton in FIFA, because oh my god, there's so much rage in that episode. Anyway, you can look forward to that in the future. Redmond got an assist just as I dropped it from the team as well, and all in all, I'd say a fair result between those 2 teams. Newcastle continue to look decent enough to stay up, I think. The worry for me now, Leicester, like, they're back down there, you know, in the table. Oh, this isn't going to actually work, is it? Because it's going to screw up because I haven't got the internet. Okay, well, I did want to have a look probably at what our next fixtures. Oh, we can have a look at the next fixtures. Okay, let me just make sure that isn't. Yeah, there we go. It doesn't try and load. Sorry about this. Technical faults. West Ham Brighton. It's not really interesting, is it? Chelsea Watford. Now that's a very interesting game. As I said, Watford very good. Chelsea lost 2 games in a row now, so fascinating to see how they try and come back from that. Huddersfield Man City. That's going to be very interesting as well. How is Mourinho going to approach that game? Man City Burnley. Again, that's a really great game. I think. You know, I've said that Burnley very resilient. Obviously, that is going to be a backs against the wall type job, but going to be very interesting. I wouldn't think we're going to see as high score 7-2 there at all, but who knows. Newcastle Palace, I think that's a pretty interesting game. How can Palace, you know, push on, or was that a fluke against Chelsea? We'll see. Stoke Bournemouth, that's a real battle at the bottom of the table as well. Same with Swansea Leicester, some cracking games I think actually coming through. Southampton West Brom is more of a kind of mid-table battle, I think, not hugely entertaining or interesting, I don't think. And then Everton Arsenal, 2 teams struggling. Everton more so than Arsenal, but definitely struggling. And Spurs Liverpool, I think that's probably one of the best weeks I've seen so far in terms of interesting games going on, and also difficult to kind of predict and see what's going through. I'll make some changes when my internet comes back because right now it appears to be off. But I'm gonna change. I think I'm probably just gonna change Bally, not take any points hits, and then see where we go from there. Really, in terms of a captain, it's a difficult one. I guess you've got to go for Lukaku against Huddersfield. You've got to imagine there's going to be some goals there. But yeah, an interesting week. I don't see myself getting that many high scores that week, but we'll see. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, as always. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you next time. Maybe we'll have 2 Crystal Palace wins next time. Maybe. See you soon.